Hey everyone, it's Jessica from the Boyer Sisters. I'm so glad you're tuning in today because I have some really fun advice for you. Now you may be wondering, why in the world is Jessica giving wedding advice whenever she's never been a bride? That's actually a good point, and I'll give that to you. However, I kind of joke around and call myself the bride who's never been a bride before because I got this really fun job over the summer where I get to work at a wedding venue, and I have literally worked with dozens of weddings and dozens of brides and seen the beautiful victories pulled off. And then I've also seen some mistakes here and there. The weddings themselves were just glorious, but there just happened to be, one little thing that just, it just happened. It could have been because the bride didn't think about it. It could have been for a completely other different reason. So let's talk about 5 mistakes that you should never make at your wedding. Alright guys, so here's mistake number 1. Not having any music before the ceremony. Okay. First of all, let me just say that being in the, what would you call it? The gathering, the assembly of friends and family, and sitting down and waiting for the wedding attendants to walk down the aisle and then the bride and everybody rises. Before any of that happens, you're just sitting there and you're sometimes, if you're the early birds, you're sitting there for a half hour. How would you like to sit at a wedding for a half hour without any music before anything happens? Okay, first of all, music sets the vibe for the whole entire event. If you don't have beautiful, maybe even peppy, maybe, a little bit subdued music right before the ceremony begins, oh, I'm telling you, it just kills the rest of the event. So don't ever do that, okay? You want your guests to be happy and alert, and you want them to be ready to celebrate with you this momentous day, right? So don't not have music before the ceremony. Okay, so mistake number 2. It's hiring a semi-professional DJ. Okay guys, so there are 2 sides to this coin. There's the ceremony side, and then there's the reception side. So let's talk about the ceremony because that comes first. Ideally, you want everybody's attention on you and your groom, right? Yes, that is exactly where you want all the eyeballs and ears. Well, okay, so the DJ is kind of fiddling around with the sound and the volume's going up, and the officiant is, you can hear him and then you can't hear him, and then you get handed the mic and you can hear you and then you can't hear you. And do you really want that to happen? No, you don't want that to happen. You want a guy who knows how to correct the volume without anything being noticed, right? That is a professional DJ. So moving on to reception, you ideally want a guy who is totally rolling with your vision for your event. You may have a theme, you may have something fun and quirky that is unique to you and your groom. You want a guy who can just totally take that vision on and make it his own so that everything is flawless and seamless. I've had to work with guys where they just kind of show up and they set up their stuff, and maybe they communicated once or twice with the brides, but there was never like this, I totally get what this girl is doing. So you want that. You want them to be streamlining everything according to your vision and your theme. So mistake number 3 is having an outdoor wedding during the rainy season. Okay, so I live in Ohio, and guys, the weather is just turbulent. It is, I really seriously believe that the weather here has hormones, because it's just totally like up and down, up and down. You're never gonna know, is it gonna rain, is it not gonna rain? Especially in the spring of the year. My point is, you really want to, whenever you're planning your wedding, you want to figure out when is the truly rainy season. Obviously, fall and winter, you don't want to have an outdoor wedding unless you live in Southern California. But for people like me or anybody else, chances are you're going to be dealing with the changing seasons. So make sure that you know your season. When is it going to be rainy and stormy? Otherwise, you are going to end up a soggy, muddy mess by the end of the evening. And you know, typically the brides that I work with, they're totally fine with it, but I want to keep my dress, don't you? I don't want to look like a soggy, muddy mess by the end of my wedding. I still want to look beautiful and vibrant. Oh, and of course the other thing is, it makes your guests so much more happy that they don't have to like walk in squishy ground and stuff like that. So just pay attention to when it's gonna rain. Okay, so I'm gonna start this one with this story. So one of my jobs while I'm at the wedding venue is to pass all of the boutonnieres and corsages out to their respective people. And one of the times we had a grandma and grandpa come in, and well, it turned out that the grandpa was legit, but the grandma was actually the grandpa's girlfriend. And she got the corsage, and the actual grandma got gypped and got left out, and we find this out after the ceremony, and so it's like, so it was never really clear who were the grandparents. So make sure that you specify who are the grandparents in your wedding, because you want to honor these people. They came way before you did, and they're some of the most precious people there at your wedding. They have all the wisdom and all of the history with them, so you want to make sure that you give them their due respect. So here's mistake number 5. Pinning boutonnieres on your groom and groomsmen who are only wearing dress shirts. Okay, they're wearing pants too, but they're not wearing any jackets or vests or suspenders. They're just wearing dress shirts. Here's the first thing that's wrong with that. Typically, it's hot outside, and that's the reason why they've not been assigned jackets or vests, right? Okay, so that's fine. But if it's hot outside, they may have been smart enough to wear undershirts. They may not have been, it doesn't matter. There's like only one other layer of fabric underneath that shirt. And the only thing keeping that pin from sticking that poor dude is my fingers and a careful eye. It is so awkward trying to pin the groom and his groomsmen whenever they're only wearing dress shirts. It just doesn't work, guys. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It should never be done. Boutonnieres only go on lapels. And the reason why is because there is layers and layers of fabric underneath that lapel to keep the pin from going in. And then for another thing, that pin, the end, the pricky part, it gets hidden underneath the lapel. Whenever you're just wearing a dress shirt, the end of that pin is sticking out. So at any given moment, if the guy wearing the boutonniere is, you know, getting a little happy clappy, and he just recklessly swipes his shirt and stick gets impaled by the pin, and you just don't want that, okay? It's just not a good idea. So if it's hot outside, you know, your wedding's in the middle of summer, and you want your groomsmen to be comfortable, just leave out the boutonnieres. They'll be fine. Okay, so guys, at the end of the day, a wedding is a wedding, and the reason why you're there is to celebrate the matrimony of two people coming together and joining their lives in one union. And let me just tell you that stressing over minor little details is not worth it. It is totally not worth it. You want to be able to come to your wedding joyful and exuberant, carefree as much as possible. These little things that I've shared with you today are not for you to get like all over. We don't want that. I don't want you to be like that. I mean, at the end of the evening, it's like everything went great. Nothing happened. All that stress was needless. These are fun little anecdotes that I get to share with you all. You know, it's something to watch out for, but it's definitely not something you need to stress out over. So let's move right on into